Two Cook County Jail detainees were indicted on attempted murder charges after they allegedly took part in an attack on 3 correctional officers in a now viral YouTube video on April 14, 2020. According to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, a grand jury handed out indictments against Dante Jeffries and Sherelle Sims for their role in what appeared on surveillance video to be a brutal attack that left 2 of the correctional officers unconscious and sent the third one to the hospital with serious injuries. Jeffries and Sims were also charged with aggravated battery, aggravated kidnapping, and possession of contraband. The attack occurred shortly before 4 a.m. on April 14, 2020, at the Chicago jail, where the coronavirus had, at that time, killed 6 inmates and an officer. After an officer let Jeffries out of his cell to get water, Jeffries attacked the officer from behind and forced him into his cell, according to the sheriff's office, which released a video of the attack. When the officer managed to escape the cell, Jeffries knocked him down and choked him until he lost consciousness. Jeffries then allegedly grabbed the officer's keys and gave them to Sims, his cellmate, who began opening other cell doors. As another officer tried to help his unconscious coworker, Jeffries struck a third officer in the face, knocking him unconscious. He then attacked the second officer. A sergeant armed with a stun gun arrived and ordered Jeffries and Sims back into their cell. Sims had been in custody since August 2019, charged with being an armed habitual criminal and with the unlawful possession of a firearm with a defaced serial number. In 2022, he pleaded guilty to the attack on the corrections officers and was sentenced to 9 years in prison. In May 2024, a Cook County jury found Dante Jeffries guilty of 5 counts of attempted murder, 4 counts of aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of armed robbery, 1 count of aggravated vehicular hijacking, 1 count of aggravated battery, and 1 count of aggravated discharge of a firearm, according to Cook County court records. Jeffries and 2 other men had been indicted for robbing a T-Mobile store at 43rd and Ashland in July 2017, and shooting a Chicago police officer during a chase after the robbery. Prosecutors have said Jeffries and Donzel Grant walked into the T-Mobile store around 1:30 p.m. on July 21st, and pointed guns at 4 employees on the sales floor. Jeffries and Grant forced them into the back of the store, where they tied them up with zip ties and demanded the combination to the store safe. A 5th employee and a customer were able to escape and call 911. Grant and Jeffries then emptied a stash of iPhones inside the store, robbed the employees, and headed out the front door, where they saw 2 police officers pulling up in a marked squad car. They then ran out the back of the store and circled to the front of the strip mall, running across Ashland Avenue as police officers gave chase. Prosecutors said Jeffries shot one of the officers in the knee. The officer returned fire, and she and her partner kept chasing the robbers, who jumped into a waiting getaway car before getting out and sprinting down a gangway. An officer was able to pin Grant against the door of a garage, where he was arrested. Police also arrested the getaway driver, Cortez Harrington, whose Dodge Charger was found a few blocks away on Marshfield. Jeffries carjacked a minivan while fleeing police but was arrested the next day. So, the crazy story of Dante Jeffries and his cellmate knocking correctional officers the fuck out is the first shocking story from Cook County Jail that the Cartoon News Network is reporting on today.
The inmate who led a takeover of Cook County Jail in July 2016 was big mad he couldn't visit his brothers before being sent to another facility. Cordero Stevenson repeatedly told deputies he wanted to see his 2 brothers, both inmates in a different area of Cook County Jail, before being transferred to prison. When the request was denied, Stevenson and accomplice, Martin Alvarado, took a shank from another inmate and led the takeover of their housing unit on July 28, 2016. The pair stabbed a fellow inmate multiple times before emergency responders were able to quash the situation. Alvarado had been in custody since April 2015 after he murdered his girlfriend's 18-month-old son for urinating while Alvarado changed the boy's diaper. Stevenson had been in jail since September 2014 on charges of armed robbery and carjacking. He picked up 3 new cases in jail, court records show. Each is for aggravated battery to a guard. The mayhem started about 4:30 p.m. on July 28, 2016, inside the Division 10 housing unit, which houses the county's maximum security detainees. Stevenson was agitated about not being able to see his brothers and hit another inmate. When the inmate tried to report the attack, Stevenson got a shank from a different inmate and tried to rip down a security camera. Stevenson then covered the camera in a substance that was believed to be toothpaste and continued to demand to see his brothers. Around the same time, Alvarado began throwing soapy water, feces, and urine at the guards, prosecutors said. Inmates tied together sheets, and someone shouted that Stevenson had hostages. Several inmates crushed and snorted pills that were in the housing unit. The inmates then suggested to Stevenson that he should attack the man who was newest to the Division 10 housing unit. At that point, Stevenson told authorities he would start hurting people if he wasn't allowed to see his brothers. He and Alvarado beat an inmate and tied the man's neck and legs with sheets. Alvarado is accused of repeatedly punching another inmate whose neck was also tied with sheets. According to prosecutors, Stevenson continued to demand to see his brothers while threatening to stab the man who was newest to Division 10. Stevenson and Alvarado kept watch on the man and traded possession of the shank. At one point, Alvarado stabbed the man in his leg, and Stevenson began to make stabbing motions over the man, but didn't cut him like authorities believed. Emergency crews then blasted into the housing unit with a flashbang about 7:30 p.m., and that's when Stevenson actually plunged the knife into the victim's leg. Stevenson and Alvarado are part of a prison gang known as Savage Life. Inmates facing charges of murder, rape, and other serious crimes formed the gang in 2015 in the Cook County Jail. Their goal is to sow chaos, officials say. They physically attack guards. They throw feces and urine. And they expose themselves and masturbate in the presence of female defense attorneys and female correctional officers. There were 219 incidents of inmates exposing themselves or masturbating in public between July 1, 2015 and January 20, 2016, said Kara Smith, Chief of Policy for Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, who at the time was in charge of running the jail. Some are multiple offenders, she said. The incidents had been concentrated mainly in two maximum security housing units, Divisions 9 and 10, on the sprawling jail complex near the criminal courthouse at 26th and California. Savage Life is not a street gang. In fact, it is comprised of members from different gangs, sometimes rival gangs, who bonded together behind bars, but would have tried to kill each other on the streets. Rico Reckless and FBG Butta exposed Savage Life to the public, but the practice of knocking somebody out, spreading their booty cheeks and spitting in their butt, died in the summer of 2016, after Illinois passed legislation making inmates who do that nasty shit register as sex offenders.
How many times did you see this happen back in the day? Did you see that happen a lot? Yeah, I was in the hole when the nigga who started this shit on my sister, they gave his little ass 27 years. No, they gave him 47 years on strap. He's a little BD from Chicago Heights. He come back. Yeah, he get found guilty in the hole. He on BD. He on BD, folks. On day, but they just gave me 47, folks. He on BD. I'm for knocking nigga out, spitting his ass. Everybody laughing and shit, motherfucker. Because he was a little goofy ass shorty, always cracking jokes. All for his grade, motherfucker. John, he walk up on Shorty on the phone. Hey, let me see that phone. Why didn't you call my people? They just gave me a 40. Ooh. Shorty like, man, boy, I just got this bitch. Whoa, he on BD, boy. You want to bump for that bitch? Shorty, you know what you want to bump? He rock, bam, bam, bam. Pick him up, slam his ass on top of the table, slam his head on top of the table, and Lil B grave. It was Murder, She Wrote. And on folks' grave, Shorty hit the floor. He pull his pants down, spread Shorty asshole. Spread Shorty cheeks and spit it in this shit on Lil B grave. He on me, I just told y'all. Oh man, I think I was spit his ass. Oh, John, after that happened, everybody had to get themselves.
So next time y'all catch these bloggers, let's get down to the nitty gritty of this shit. And let's break down what's the concept. In what year did they start doing this shit? Who idea was it? Who decided to do this first? The BDs or the GDs? Who idea said, okay, we're going to get them and we're going to do it. And why do they continue to do it? And when a nigga get his booty spit in, do anybody help him up off the ground? He got to lift himself up, stand there and put us. He's standing there the whole time looking at him. And he's standing there looking around. him looking at him, the white boy looking at him. He's standing there, and he got to stand up, pull his pants up, and get himself together. After the nigga done whooped him and spit in his booty, and the guards looking. That nigga need counseling. That nigga need, he might as well start killing people.
I think his name, Bathtub, he even get mad, say, I'm mad at Savage Life. He come about me, don't know. You happy that you made it? Spitting people's blood.
Get that blood, get that blood, get that blood.
On phone up, we was getting that over there. But that's who was over there with us. No Rico Reckless, man. He said, that man drinks this with us, none of that shit. I don't even know how he can play like that. Talking about spitting butts and all that goofy ass shit.
So do that really be going on, bro? Because I ain't been to the county since 2012, and I ain't never heard of no shit like that.
Yeah, that happened like 2 times. Like, he tells a story that he heard, man.
Right.
On phone up.
Right.
He tells a story he heard. That ain't no shit that just happened random or shit like that.
Yeah, because he
on phone up, motherfucker most definitely be having them AK-57s in the front door for sure.
Patrick Calvin, aka Bloodbath, wants everyone to know 3 things about him. Number 1, he was King Von's homie. Number 2, he started Savage Life, and 3, he only spit in niggas' butts, a couple of times. Bloodbath was on the other end of the call when King Von told all the BDs on the deck that he was putting money on their books. Please, hit that like button and subscribe to the Cartoon News Network for more from us, but stay tuned because I gotta tell you why. Bloodbath was sentenced to nearly 50 years in prison. Jailhouse phone calls led to charges against 3 men in connection with the shooting on the Dan Ryan Expressway that killed 1 man, and wounded another in September 2012. Bathtub, oops I meant Patrick Calvin, oops I did it again I meant, Bloodbath, was charged with first-degree murder for the shooting that killed Larry Porter, on the expressway near 87th Street. Porter, 25, was driving on September 5, 2012, when a maroon van pulled alongside his vehicle near the 87th Street exit. Bloodbath was among several passengers in the van who began shooting multiple shots at the other vehicle, striking Porter in the head. Porter lost control of his car and drove into a building on Lafayette Avenue. He was dead at the scene. Another passenger in his vehicle suffered a graze wound to the head. Bloodbath's co-defendant, Garrett Glover, told his girlfriend shortly after the shooting that Porter had been shot by mistake, and that a person in the backseat was the intended target, prosecutors said. Witnesses from the victim's vehicle identified Calvin and Glover as being among the shooters, and both defendants later admitted to other witnesses that they were involved, prosecutors said. Bloodbath was arrested in October 2012 in Springfield, Missouri, after a car chase in which 2 guns were thrown out of his vehicle. He told police the guns belonged to other people who fled, but he was arrested on an outstanding warrant. While in jail in Missouri, Bloodbath called Glover twice and told him he threw a .30 into a nearby yard, before police caught him. Police later found a Glock Model 30 from the yard, and it matched shell casings from the Dan Ryan murder scene.
But his ass not like that, man. Rico Reckless, he's not like that. Whoa, I don't even know why he even mentioned Von name, throwing his ass an op. Like, I take that as disrespect. Like, oh yeah, he said he was right there with the BDs and all this shit. Said come to the phone, that was me, ain't gonna fuck up.
Right. That was definitely you. We know that for sure. Hey, take us back to that though. I know we just talked about Vaughn, but just take us back to that day, man, because I can imagine that just being, you know what I'm saying? We locked up, but one of the guys, he done got out, he done turned up. He the biggest nigga in the rap game, you know what I'm saying? And he really showing us love, bro. Just tell us how that energy felt, you know what I'm saying? Because when you locked up, bro, it's only a few things that you can hold on